any number, then I can immediately start decoding it. And what we learned was the clef, which means key, only landed on the space. So what happened in history when the number 1 or do wound up on the space? There was no way of notating it. They had no clef that went on a space. So there was no way of telling anyone what the letter of the alphabet was on any space. So they needed to add another system to take into account the spaces as well as the lines. And they came up with this thing known as a key signature, which, as we told you, was named after Max, the legend. A legend is another way of doing it. And they came up with the system of sharps and flats. Now, in my system, we found out that all the sharps to the furthest right, that sharp was always the number 7. And we also discovered for flats, the flat to the furthest right is always the number 4. Okay? And that made it simple. Because if I put, say, sharp here on that line, then I put the next sharp here on this space, and then I put another one up here on this space, and then I put another one down here on this line, since this is the number 7, right? Then give me E, because I'll change the clef on you. Please get this through your head. Any one of these lines can be any letter name I want it to be. And if you're constantly comparing it to the treble clef, you're doing yourself an injustice, because you'll never learn to read an orchestra score. You'll never be able to read viola music.
Well, you didn't say that. If you're using regular music, that would be key of E.
No, if you were using the treble clef, that would be the key of E. If I'm using any of these other clefs, and I've just shown you, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 9 other possibilities. So to go on, this last sharp is the number 7, right? So now I've taken the sharp, that's the number 7. Now I can label all of these. I can label this 5. I can label this 3. I can label that 1, and discover that this line right there, that line becomes the number 1. So let me do this. My red line is the number 1. And now everything in the stack can be compared to that line. And I can use this number system to then, this line here would be the number 2, the line above that would be the number 4, and the ledger line above that would be the number 6. And going down, this bottom line is 1, ledger line below would be 6, 2 ledger lines below would be the number 4, etc. Easy, right? If I have flats instead, for instance, I put a flat here, put a flat here, and then wound up with my next flat here. This flat is the number 4. So now I can label all these spaces. I can label this space here would be 2, and the space below that would be 7, the space above that would be 6, and then that would be 1. And 1, this time, 1 is this space. And you see here this this system of key signatures allows me now to pick a space as the number 1 and not always be stuck on the lines. So what this key signature did is it just extended the system to now add in spaces. So now the number 1 can be on any line or any space I choose it to be by using sharps and flats to move it. And with any clef that I put down here, I can give it any name of the alphabet I want, anywhere I want, anytime I want, depending on which. So let's look at the same equivalency here if we were doing it with ABCs. If I'm using the treble clef, we'll start out with Bear's favorite treble clef here. That means that this line here, I'll make it green, is now the letter name G. So here's the G. So if I put G on this line, then the line above it would be B, and the line above it would be D, and the line above that would be F. And going down backwards, G, this line would be E, one ledger line below that would be C, and the ledger line below that A. And if I go up here 2 ledger lines, This F goes up to A, and it goes up to C. And now from here, one ledger line below to two ledger lines above, I have my 2-octave bandwidth. And I have properly named all these things, and now when I add these sharps and flats in, they'll wind up with the letter names that he's got in his head that he knows about. So the first sharp I have to add has to be the F sharp. So in this case, there's F, so I would have to put the sharp on the top line. And this is what trumpet players and tuba players and trombone players, all horn players learn this staff. All the sax players learn this staff. All the oboe players and all the flute players learn this staff. However, cellos, violas, stand-up basses, they don't. They use the bass clef because their range goes so much lower than this. We use another staff with a different clef to show the range of those instruments. Now, I can take this and very quickly again. 1, 2. When I was in college, I studied the viola, and the viola goes there. And that is the letter C. And it's telling me that C is now on this line here. So what would that line be, everybody?
E.
Correct. And then the line above it would be G. And the ledger line above that would be B. And the ledger line above that would be D. And going down, we have to go can, A, farm, dog, bite. Now we've got all the letters there, right? So now I want to change this key to the key of G, which requires one F sharp. And where do I put that F sharp now? Where is the letter name for F?
Top space?
Right here on this first line. What about the top space? Right here, this space. So if I put my sharp here, that's what name?
Sharp.
That's correct. That would be an F sharp because of that clef. Now what if I decided to use this clef instead? What does that clef name? F. That's the letter F. So now I'm saying F is on that line. So now let's use this. Okay, the one above would be A. The ledger line above that would be C. 2 ledger lines above that would be E. And going down, can, A, farm, dog, bite, green, eggs, can. Now we've got our ABCs. Now if I want to add my F sharp, where do I have to put it?
The F line.
Right there on that F line. So now if I put it here, that is still F sharp. Now we've just seen F sharp put on 3 different lines. We saw it on this top line with the treble clef. We've seen it on this space using the alto clef. And we've seen that it's shifted to this line using the bass clef. And that is correct. And those are the 3 clefs you're going to run into over and over and over and over. And you can use this circle of thirds as a way to... Are you now liberated from this, I hope? I want you to see that, one, clefs are not fixed and carved in stone. They never were, and why they're taught that way is beyond me. Just beyond me. Even if you're trying to keep a tradition alive, as these traditionals are supposed to be doing, then they should let people know that do has always been movable. And that these clefs, which mean key in French, were created to move it into different places. Its natural job is to move it, not freeze it and carve it in stone, not hand it like Mount Olympus. But it was anything that was convenient for you, the composer, to make it look pretty on the staff so it'd be easy for somebody to read. That's the clef you would use. You get what I'm getting at? What we want to do is we want to notate everything on this staff. We don't want to have too many ledger lines above. We don't want too many below. So we pick the clef depending on the bandwidth of the singer or the instrument we're trying to notate, and we try to find a clef that will put the do, re, mi that we're trying to use in a place where I can notate all the notes on the staff without it running over. and it'll still give me a 2-octave bandwidth. So now can you see the connection between this system and this system?